Welcome back, everybody. Joining us from Washington with a look at Axios AM, national political reporter for Axios, Jonathan Swan. Jonathan, good morning to you. Talk to us about Axios' one big thing today.
Ahead of the potential summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, I interviewed 4 senior officials from NATO member nations. There was very consistent concern across all of these officials about the summit, and the main concern, it was very starkly illustrated to me by Poland's Senator and Secretary of State Anna Maria Anders, is that Putin will charm Donald Trump into giving something away, and that their summit will be a much warmer affair, that they worry it will be a much warmer affair than the NATO summit, where NATO members are expecting Donald Trump to turn up and beat them up over not paying enough in their defense budgets.
I know that we had heard that Bolton was going to be meeting with Sergei Lavrov, but I actually just heard and got an email that that actually Putin is going to be meeting with Bolton as well today in Moscow from Russian state media. What do you make of this new development?
Well, I only just found out about 2 minutes ago from your producer, your wonderful producer who sent me the email.
He's okay.
So I haven't had time to process this, but I mean, look, we know how important the negotiations are for this summit. They're negotiating over timing for the summit, location, and what's on the agenda. And when I've spoken to officials who've been in touch with the White House, foreign officials, and they say the White House has been very vague about what they want to accomplish in this meeting. And part of that is because the view that certainly these foreign officials have gotten from the White House is that Donald Trump himself doesn't know what deliverables he wants to achieve from this meeting. His view is just get me in the room with the guy. Yeah,
it's kind of like a precursor, as we saw with Pompeo meeting with North Korean officials before the meeting in Singapore. Let's talk about the primary from last night, Jonathan. We had the shakeup, the loss by Democrat Joe Crowley, a major Democrat there thinking that he was going to take over Pelosi's spot. Obviously, that's not happening now. Whose seat is safe here going forward?
Well, look, nobody's, clearly. I mean, this was a race on nobody's radar. Nobody's radar. Seasoned political reporters were melting down on Twitter last night. You could almost see the steam coming out of their heads. And no one thought that this was possible. He was in line potentially to replace Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. What it shows, I think, is that the progressive energy is overtaking the Democratic Party. And we talk about an identity crisis. It's very clear where the energy and the momentum is. It's on the left of the party. And remember, this is a 28-year-old, the person who beat Joe Crowley, Latina socialist who campaigned to get rid of Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Right. I mean, this is, very, very clear where the energy in the party lies.
Yeah, she seems very surprised by her win, I got to say, and it was quite an unbelievable loss for Crowley at that.
Amazing.
Do you think there's going to be a renewed talk about a change in the Democratic Party's leadership now?
Well, I mean, I don't know about renewed. It's a constant talk. I mean, almost any new candidate that gets interviewed on television is asked, will you support Nancy Pelosi for Speaker? I think this group of leadership, they're old. Let's be honest. They're very old. And there is an hunger among a large proportion of these younger members for generational change. So these questions are not going to go away.
I quickly want to touch on a new poll that's out this morning from Axios and SurveyMonkey. How has Trump's presidency impacted Republicans' trust in news organizations that you've been seeing from this poll?
This poll is stunning. I mean, we're publishing it this morning in Axios AM. 92% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents believe that the mainstream media purposefully, deliberately reports fake news or misleading news.
Wow.
So let that sink in.
Yeah, that is unbelievable to see. All right, Jonathan Swan for us. Thank you so much. We're going to be reading Axios AM in just a little bit. And to all of our viewers out there, you too can sign up for the newsletter. Signup.axios.com.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.